Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today we have Vice President Joe Biden running against John Kasich. We're running against Donald Trump running as an independent. So this will be a 2020 election prediction, as if John Kasich won the Republican nomination, but Donald Trump said we're going to continue on and run an independent campaign. Remember, there's a lot of talk about if Trump lost the nomination in 2016, how he would run as an independent against the Republican nominee, and that really scared a lot of Republican voters into voting for him. And it scared the Republican base. You saw they were extremely worried about it at debates about Trump running an independent ticket because they know it would split the vote. Well, here we have a situation where John Kasich won the Republican nomination over Donald Trump. You've seen more and more speculation of John Kasich running, and it's becoming more and more popular of a Kasich nominee. However, the Trump nominee still remains at the most likely option, but this is just a what-if scenario if John Kasich won the Republican nomination. So I'm sure you know how this ends. Joe Biden would easily win the election. You can't have two conservatives running against a strong Democrat if you're expecting to win an election. The vote splitting would be too much to handle, so let's go through all the safe Democratic states as a result of the vote splitting. Nevada, all the states that went for Clinton are safe Democratic states. Along with the Rust Belt, that one's safe Democratic. In New Hampshire, I think John Kasich could do better than Trump there, but I do also think that Biden would take the state just because of the vote splitting. So based off what I have now, Biden would take 279 electoral votes, regardless of however they do in the remaining of the map. In the remaining parts of the map, there is no way Trump or Kasich could have a pathway to victory. Before you say that this is a biased video, these are two conservatives running against each other. Donald Trump, you're going to see some states that you don't think would actually flip in a general election, especially if it's a one-on-one. There's no way it would flip, but it would flip with the vote splitting. If you think about it, if we have a state that votes, say, 55% for Republicans and 45% for Democrats, that's a 10-point lead. That's a sizable margin. If you split it in half, if you take the Trump side of the party and the Kasich side of the party, and you split it in half, that means they both would get somewhere around 27.5% of the vote, meaning the Democrat, with 45% of the vote, holds strong. They will hold strong and they will easily win the state. Let's say the vote split is 30-25. They're still under 45. The only way is if the vote split is less than 10%, which is not likely to happen. There's always that part of the Republican Party that will vote down the ballot and vote Republican. But there's always that Trump base that will elect Trump regardless of what party he's on. He could run as a Democrat and they would still vote for him because he's been their candidate for so long. So let's keep going through some states. Florida would easily turn blue. North Carolina would easily turn blue. Even though Trump's presence there is strong, I do think that a lot of the just vote Republican base will elect Kasich down there. In the South, I could see it going for Trump. Mississippi, Alabama, these are states that are solidly Republican. I could see flipping and voting for Donald Trump. In Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, I'm not going to touch. Kentucky, I could see that one flipping. West Virginia most definitely would flip to an independent column. But if we're looking over here in some anti-Trump Republican states, you don't really see a spot for a Trump victory in some of these states, but you don't really see a spot for a Kasich victory in some of these states. So let's keep going through the map for the Democrats. Iowa, that one would flip, just because of the fact Trump won it by 9%, and I think Kasich could take a sizable part away from the Trump voters. I don't think that all Republican voters will stick with him if Kasich wins the nomination, just because of the fact he has that Republican by his name, and I'm sure the media will boost up Kasich to win more electoral votes than Trump would, even though Trump would probably win more. So just based off that, I think on election day they would either not vote or they would come out and vote and split their votes, and I think that Biden would become the victor. In Ohio, same thing here. Kasich is heavily liked. Trump is heavily liked. I think it'll be a primary split the same way they voted in the primary. I think it'll split pretty easily. So this is the map that all political pundits thought Hillary Clinton had a pathway to victory with, 347 to 191. So that wasn't the map. So there's still some more states that Biden can expand on. So if we're looking at Indiana, that one voted for Trump overwhelmingly. So if Kasich takes away from the Trump vote, if he takes the Ted Cruz part in the political party and uses it to his advantage, remember Cruz and Kasich teamed up for a small period of time against Trump, Biden could definitely win Indiana. If we're looking down here in Georgia, that one most definitely could flip. I mean, Trump won it by such a small margin. Trump is not liked in the Republican Party down in Georgia as well as other candidates were. Even though he won the primary, that's not really an indication of where the minority of the Republican Party that didn't vote for Trump, that voted for Hillary Clinton in Georgia. And it could be changing demographics. South Carolina, I don't see that one flipping, but I'm not exactly sure who that one would go to. Sure, it's part of the South, but they do have that strong Republican territory, so it's to me, I think would go to Donald Trump just because of the fact that he won it in the primary overwhelmingly. So I think that South Carolina, I think they would vote for Trump even though he's on an independent ticket. I do think it'll be very close, but it wasn't that close in 2016. I mean, it's always too early to call because only Democratic precincts are reporting during that time. But if we look at the final election results in the state of South Carolina, we have Hillary Clinton getting 40% of the vote to Donald Trump's 54%, compared to where in 2012, Barack Obama got 44% and Mitt Romney got 54%. So that's a 10-point difference in 2012, and then Hillary Clinton lost her lead. So I don't really see it. She lost that margin by 4%, and I don't really see it flipping for Joe Biden, even with the vote splitting. Let's keep going through the rest of the map. Let's go through to the Midwest. If we have Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, we have to look at where they voted in the primaries. Donald Trump was able to carry a lot of the Midwest. He was, except for the fact that Ted Cruz was popular here. After Ted Cruz dropped out, he carried a lot of the Midwest, unlike Nebraska, South Dakota, Montana, and North Dakota voted uncommitted, but by the convention roll call, Donald Trump won the state. So if we're just looking at the state right now, I don't know how that one would really react to vote splitting between two candidates. Looking at the map, you see a lot of blue. That's rightfully served to the Biden campaign. If the Republicans are, frankly, going to run two candidates, I think they will lose the election easily. In Missouri, Donald Trump won that state by, I think, around, I think it was 19%, but it's the state of Missouri. It used to be a toss-up. It's not a toss-up anymore. Donald Trump won the state. Let's look at the results. He won it 56% of the vote to 38%, 56.7, 58.77 minus 38.14. So he won it by around 18%. But then again, you do have that part of the vote splitting that could definitely screw over the Republican Party here. Mitt Romney won the state by a much smaller margin, and John McCain only won it by 4,000 votes. So this used to be a toss-up state, but I do see a pathway for it to flip. I don't know how it would react. I think it'll be a small margin for Joe Biden to win if he does flip, because I do see part of the Republican Party that even voted for Trump would vote for John Kasich just because he has the Republican part by his name. But I don't see it going to Trump if there's that amount of vote splitting. Missouri is a huge state that could be very much, after 4 years of Donald Trump, could flip back to another side the same way Indiana did. But it wasn't close. It wasn't an Indiana situation. It wasn't close. So 4 years of Donald Trump, and then he loses the primary. That would maybe show some possible disarray in the Republican Party. But then again, Trump is running independent, but I would give it to Joe Biden just because of the amount of vote splitting there. In North Dakota, Montana, those ones are tough states to call. But Texas, that one I'm going to give to Joe Biden. Before you say this is extremely biased and this is unfair, just think about this. So we have Texas, which Trump won less than he won the state of Missouri. Romney won it by such a huge margin in 2012. Even McCain won it by a bigger margin. So it was just not bigger than Romney, but it's just a huge, drastic change from 2012 to 2016. If we have a number of vote splitting, if we have the Ted Cruz vote voting for John Kasich and the Trump vote voting for Donald Trump, Biden would easily take the state. This was almost the situation in 1992 when Ross Perot split the vote from George Bush, and Clinton almost won the state of Texas. He lost it by 3% in 1992. That's the closest a Democrat has ever gotten to it since Jimmy Carter when he won it. It used to be vital for Democrats to win Texas to win elections. Now it's not even heard of. So a lot of vote splitting would be needed in order to make the state turn blue. Arizona would easily turn blue. If we're looking at the map, I think Biden would definitely carry the state of Arizona just because of the vote splitting. If we look in the state of Utah, that one voted for Trump, but it voted for Trump by such a small margin compared to where it voted for Mitt Romney. I'm pretty sure that the vote for in the state of Utah in the 2016 election, if we look at it, Evan McClellan was running, of course, we know that, but Donald Trump got less than 50% of the vote. He got 49.9% of the vote. Evan McClellan got 21%. And Hillary Clinton got 27.8%. That's kind of a huge margin. If we're looking at it, Donald Trump was able to carry the state handily, but it was close. It was close in counties that shouldn't have been close. The overall results, if you combine all the third-party votes, Hillary Clinton, if you gave them to Hillary Clinton, she would have won the state. So if we're looking at vote splitting, Donald Trump got 45% of the vote because of vote splitting. So I could see this one going for John Kasich just because of the fact that I think John Kasich would use that Republican part of the ballot to propel him to the pathway to presidency in the state of Utah. So if we're looking at Utah, 6 electoral votes, I think that it'll split the same way it voted for Evan McClellan. I think part of the Republican Party will vote for Trump, and I think that the majority will go to John Kasich because he is the nominee and not just an independent candidate. And this election won't be close, so it's like their vote won't matter as much as it did in 2016. Idaho, that one would go to Trump. I could see that one going to Trump. But there's a huge anti-Trump wave that voted here in 2016. But in Nebraska and Wyoming, those are Midwestern states. They would only vote for Cruz because he's a solid conservative. And I think Trump would be able to win over their votes. There's no way Democrats can win up here. Kansas, I think that one would go to Trump as well. Oklahoma, I could see that one going to Trump. In North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, if anything, they'll either vote for Trump or Biden. I don't see a way for Kasich to win in these states. So I'm going to give them to Trump for now just because he won it by a large margin, and I don't see it was never even considered a toss-up. I mean, North Dakota was considered somewhat of a toss-up. It voted for McCain by 9%, I think. And South Dakota voted for McCain by 10, I think. And then we have Montana. That one was actually close. But I'm not sure, actually. Now that I think about it, Montana was close for Obama in 2008. But Trump won it by such a big margin. But then again, Hillary Clinton is in the other one running. So, actually, I'm going to leave that one as uncalled. And we're going to go to Alaska real quick. Alaska, I would definitely see that one going to John Kasich. Just because of the Ted Cruz voters down there in the Republican Party. I don't think that the Democratic Party can pick up any votes in Alaska, considering that it's been trending more Republican. And I think Kasich will do better there just because of the fact that the Ted Cruz movement that voted for him in the primary would go to him. And now that we're looking at Montana, let's look at the 2016 election results out of the state of Montana. We have Hillary Clinton getting around, she got 36% of the vote, and Donald Trump got 56.5%. So that's a 20.5% lead for Donald Trump. But then again, if we're looking at where the presidential election was just 8 years ago, we have 2012 was actually somewhat closer than 2016. But if we look at the 2008 margin, 49.5% for John McCain and 47.1% for Barack Obama. That's exceptionally close. That was because the Republican candidate was not liked, was not perceived as a true conservative. And now that I think about it with vote splitting, I would give that one to Joe Biden. So, thank you all for watching, and I want you guys to comment suggestions down below. If you like more of this content, please subscribe here and watch my latest election night on the left. So if you want to see any suggestions, comment below, and thank you all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.